Greetings! It is I, Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on the EARTHDAWN Roleplaying game system. Well, when we last left off, we were talking about, of course, combat. We finished up with mounted combat. Let's talk about aerial combat. So aerial combat is just that, based around flying. Certain creatures, certain characters can fly. So there's opportunities for flying to occur and combat either between characters and flying creatures, or possibly of a character's flying and a creature on the ground. Now, most of the rules for combat remain the same as they always are. Combat is combat, and we've discussed it. Though there are a certain number of considerations that we're going to be discussing that you have to take into account when it comes to aerial combat. Combat in the air. Things that you're going to have to note in order to use it smoothly and correctly. The first major thing we want to talk about is movement. You're a flying creature. You have a movement rate just like you'd have on the ground. But unlike a creature on the ground, you can go anywhere. I can go up, down, vertically, horizontally, diagonally. The direction is not limited by what I'm standing on. I can go anywhere my movement will take me. Of course, I don't have to move my full movement. I don't have to move at all. As a flying creature, I could just sort of hover in place, kind of keep myself in one area, not worry about flying around. Now, a flying creature can use any combat options that they could on the ground as normal. Certain ones might have considerations if a creature is flying, but they will be mentioned specifically under those combat options. Otherwise, they're exactly the same as I would have on the ground. Now, there's a special action that I, as a flying creature, can take. I can choose to do a special type of charge down called a swoop attack, where I swoop in and strike my enemy, and then keep going. I basically do almost a run-by attack of them. I basically just gank them and keep on moving. This is a split action type attack, so I will have to be using the split action combat action when I'm using a swooping attack. So I use some of my movement, I move into close combat with whatever I'm hitting, or the creature's hitting me, it moves into close combat with me, makes its attack, strikes against me. Regardless if it's a success or not, then whoever's using the swoop, swoops afterwards, using the remainder of its movement to move away. So it moves in, strikes, moves away. Now, it is important to note that I, as a creature on the ground, will have to have a higher initiative than whatever is using the swooping attack on me to react to it. The same could be said of a creature that you're attacking. If it has a higher initiative to you, it can prepare to strike at you in close combat when you get close, or vice versa. You need that initiative in order to get the advantage on something that's attempting to swoop in on you. Otherwise, you just don't react to it. It smacks you, leaves, and you're done. Now, you can be a mounted character, flying. You can have a flying mount, some kind of creature that you're riding around on that flies, just as much as you could ride on a land creature. The rules that govern a flying mounted creature, or a creature that flies that you have mounted, are much the same as with any other mounted creature. It's important to note that your attack and defense are the same. You can take charge actions. You can take the swoop action when you're mounted on a creature. You get that option, but the rules that govern how that's going to affect you and your mount are exactly the same as they would be regardless. So the split actions, the strain that has to be taken, they are noted completely the same. The only difference is knockdown tests, which we'll talk about knockdown tests now. So knockdown. You as a flying creature can get knocked down. What this means? You plummet. You've lost control of your ability to fly. You just fall. However high you are up when you stop flying, that's how much damage you take when you hit the ground. Your Game Master will determine this by the falling rules that are within the Game Master's Guide, which will tell you about how much. Now, the thing is, the factors of this will depend on a lot of different things. If you're mounted, though, it's important to note that you'll take exactly the same damage as your mount would. You don't add that extra a little bit of damage you normally would have had when falling off a mount. So this is instead of the step 5, 1d8 falling damage you would have taken for falling off. This is its own falling as you're falling from a great height. Now, there could be a situation where you're falling from a really long height. So long, it will take you many rounds in order to hit the ground. The exact number of rounds is really going to be up to your game master. They're going to take into account and consideration the kind of wind that's there, how much you weigh, other various conditions which might affect it. They'll take a look at all of these conditions, consider them carefully, and then decide it'll take you 2 rounds, or 3 rounds, or 4, or whatever they think it will appropriately take for whatever's falling, you, your mount, whatever, to hit the ground. Now, you being the falling creature, if you're falling after being knocked down, after the round of initial falling, you can attempt to recover yourself, to right yourself, to catch yourself on the wind so you can stop falling. You can take a standard action and a dexterity 6 test in order to stand up, to right yourself, to catch yourself on your wings. If you do that, you stop falling. You've managed to catch yourself, you had enough time. Now, the distance that you fell, you've fallen that distance. So if you were all the way up here, you're now down here. If you fail to do this and, well, you run out of rounds, you still hit the ground. Of course, you might have more than 1 round in order to attempt to recover this, but it depends, again, how far you're falling. If you are falling off of a mount, well, then you're just screwed because you don't fly. Your mount flies. Now, if you're knocked unconscious, it's another thing that's entirely related to this. If I'm unconscious, you'd think, oh, I'm screwed. I'm falling down the ground. The thing is, the plummeting, as long as I have these rounds, as long as I'm falling far enough, I get basically roused. I get an attempt to recover myself from being unconscious as if someone was rousing me. The wind, the pressures, what's going on around me as I'm plummeting is enough to basically rouse me possibly awake from my unconsciousness. I get that normal check that I would if someone's rousing me to get me up from unconscious, that single check. If I succeed, I'm up. Then I have to attempt to catch myself, to stand up. I still have to make that standard action dexterity 6 test to right myself, but I get the option of doing it once I've woken up. If not, I will still hit the ground regardless if I'm conscious or not and just go into it. Now let's begin talking about legend points and being a legend. Every action, every adventure your characters are going to go on are going to add to their legend. They're going to add to the stories people will tell about them, the information that's spread about them of their great deeds, their great heroics, their great villainy. Whatever they do, regardless of good or evil, will add to their legend, the story that's told about them. Everything that they accomplish, everything that they succeed on, adds to this overall story and builds them out as a legendary character. The thing is, this is important to talk about because we will reflect this in how your character progresses. The greater the legend, the more adventures, the more heroics they do, the more things they accomplish, well, the more villainy too, in a way, they will become better legends, stronger, more capable. It's like in real life. The more experience you have, the more experienced you are. The better you get at things. The more you learn stuff. The better you know stuff because you've experienced them, because you've lived through that experience and gotten better. In EARTHDAWN, we actually reflect this experience in a system called legend points. Legend points are awarded when your characters accomplish certain deeds, certain goals, whether personal goals, group goals, do certain types of things. Whatever it is, we'll talk about all the different things which will earn your characters legend points. They will earn them. They can spend these legend points to increase attributes, talents, skills, and so on. They're what you use to improve your character and get better abilities. Eventually, to greater circles, to develop yourself higher and higher and get yourself more powerful. Now, I'm only going to go over one of the ways to talk about gaining legend points today. One of the more important ones. We'll continue with the rest next time. Achieving adventure goals. This one sounds so simple, but it's obvious. If you complete an adventure completely, and you've completed all the goals related to that adventure successfully, bam! You've completed adventure goals. You've gotten to where you want to be successful. Now, the fact is that you cannot just have the overarching adventure goals. You, as the game master, can award legend points for intermediate goals. Effectively, you look at certain goals that the characters might have every session, and if they succeed at some of those goals per session, they might also be rewarded legend points. If these goals are stepping stones towards the end goal, the overarching success that they will have of accomplishing the big adventure goals, then yeah, use this as a point of time to award them a little extra. They might not get as much as they would at those big end-of-adventure goals, but both of these are points in time where you can award legend points to them. Effectively, each time they play, they can earn a little bit more legendary status, get a little better. But that's it for today. So I went over 2 things today. Just went over aerial combat, all its rules, how to do it, what it means. And then I went over gaining legend points, just what they are on the basic level. In the next episode, we will continue to expand upon legend points, and I'm going to talk about the rest of the general ways that you can earn them, and then we'll start moving in towards spending them, what they mean a little bit more. But if you have any questions, comments, anything you would say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It shows support the channel, the Empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon, link description below. There's some great rewards there. Helps to grow and improve the channel and Empire. Regardless. Until the next time, I bid you farewell.